Time for additional measures to supplement and complement what we're doing already in terms of dialogue and diplomacy. I think that while on one level this is seen as election dispute between Mr. Gbagbo and Mr. Ouattara, but the consequence of a non-resolution of this could mean civil war, and that should concern the international community. And therefore, I think we should engage the international community to see this as a global issue and not just a regional or Nigerian issue for that matter. Nigeria is not for military intervention. Military intervention was put forward as a last resort by the ECOWAS heads of state and heads of government. President Jonathan happens to be in the chair and therefore spoke on behalf of his colleagues in ECOWAS. But he has said himself, and I think our position is that that would be the last resort. The bloodletting that's going on in Côte d'Ivoire today is already at levels that should concern everyone. If the situation degenerates, then the levels of bloodletting will increase significantly. The humanitarian crises that would be precipitated by civil war leaves one thinking that this is time for the international community to be engaged in a manner that shows that we're resolute in our commitment to having this matter resolved by President Gbagbo stepping down and giving power to Mr. Ouattara. Well, we've had two unanimous resolutions of the ECOWAS heads of state. President John Atta Mills was personally in attendance at both the summits. My reading of the rhetoric that's coming out of Ghana is just expressing concern, which Nigeria shares with regard to use of force in a sister country. I think it's something that no head of state in the region would want to be engaged in, but I think everyone recognizes, as the resolution does, that this may be necessary ultimately. I don't agree that everyone thinks that it's Nigeria's responsibility. I mean, this was, Nigeria did not express its opinion on this matter until the ECOWAS heads of state summit was convened, and a unanimous resolution was passed by all the heads of state and heads of government. Indeed, at the last meeting, even the heads of state of Guinea and Niger, who, as you know, have been suspended from ECOWAS heads of state meetings, were in attendance. It's something that the international community should work with us on. And that's why the resolution that spoke of legitimate force contemplates United Nations authorized action, which would mean we would have to get a resolution through the UN Security Council based on the risk to humanity, based on the potential for civil war in that country. And Nigeria in July initiated a debate in the Security Council talking about preventive diplomacy. I think this is a case for preventive diplomacy, where we should act now to avoid a bigger crisis tomorrow. The task of governance, I mean, I think President Jonathan's aware that his responsibilities as the President of Nigeria includes responsibilities outside Nigeria, including the sub-region. He's shown tremendous leadership in putting this alliance of African leaders together in respect of this problem in Côte d'Ivoire. And I think he's continued to keep his eye on that ball while he obviously concerns himself with the process of elections in Nigeria. Stability is key, and that's why we have a stake in what's happening in Côte d'Ivoire. We had two elections in recent times, Guinea and Côte d'Ivoire. Guinea, as you know, was a close election, but the losing candidate accepted the result of the election, and we're making progress. Côte d'Ivoire, we haven't had that, and therefore you don't have stability, and without stability, it's difficult to make economic progress. Now, in ECOWAS, there are some hubs of development. Nigeria is obviously one. Côte d'Ivoire is another. And that's why it's important for us to get this right and ensure that Côte d'Ivoire ends the cycle of violence that we saw in between 2002 and 2005 that led to these elections. I think it's really for these election results to be accepted and for the people of Côte d'Ivoire to go back to doing what they've been doing in the past, developing their country and working with us in Nigeria to develop the region.